Hello, you have reached the Mouse and Weens podcast. This is episode 78, season 3. And today we get together and talk about folklore in our childhood. Are these stories that were real? How do we remember them? Why? Who was this godmother person? What is her connection to the Empire State Building? We have a lot of questions, so we get our mom on the phone to give us the truth, and it ends up being a big competition between sisters at the end. So take a listen. And if you guys didn't already know, my sister is an amazing musician. You've got to stay till the song at the end. This one is so good. Go to our website, www.mouseandweens.com, for all of our links and show notes. And please just follow us on social media and tell your friends. This is the number one way that we get out there. We appreciate everything. Remember, you can go on patreon.com/mouseandweens to listen to this episode ad-free. And we hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for listening. Here we go.
Mouse and Weens and a 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 mouse and Weens mouse and Weens.
Hi, welcome to Mouse and Weens. We have another guest. We're doing lots of guests during this quarantine. We've decided it's a fun way to go. I'm Mouse. I'm the mom one down in San Diego. Who else is here? Raise your hand. We're on YouTube also. We're doing a video.
Me.
Who's me?
I'm the mom of Mouse and Weens. I birthed both of you.
Yay. It's our mom, Joyce. She's here live from Idaho. And Weens.
Hi, I'm also here representing the Idaho.
She's got a cool
Idaho
shirt that says Idaho across her.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Chesticles.
We're not entirely video.
Yay! Everybody looks so nice. We decided to all come together because Weens and I were chit-chatting about our childhood, and we were recalling some funny memories and wanted to get Mom's firsthand point of view on some of our good stuff. But yeah, so we're going to go into some old stories.
Aw, you guys are great. This is the family that I love. And I remember you guys from when I was a child also, which brings us back to the point I like to stay on topic. Mom, what was it like delivering that young tot at the ranch house?
Okay, we did not deliver her at the ranch house. We delivered you at the ranch house, Julie.
Oh yeah, you weren't there.
Yeah.
You were in Arizona.
Yeah.
Do you want to direct this interview? I'm sorry. I'm going to stay in the background.
In a hurry.
I've been writing. I'm very weird in my brain. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So what my notes were about was your godmother, Dee Raskob.
Yeah.
Would you like me to tell you the whole story that goes with her?
Yeah. So let's set the scene. So it's about 1976, 5.
Julianne was born in 75. Okay, your dad and I went to the University of Arizona. He then went and played some pro ball, and he was playing against the Oakland Raiders. He had occasion to go out into the East Bay, and so he
Pro ball means football with who?
Football with New York Jets. And I was in Long Island, and he called me and he goes, I found this really pretty town called Danville, California. I think you and I should live there. So that precipitated our whole move to Northern California. We were living in a little tiny apartment. Your dad wanted to get out of the apartment because he's big and it was a little tiny apartment, and we wanted to live in the country. So we drove around out in the country and we found this huge house on top of this mountain. And we decided whoever lived in that house probably had other places. And so your dad drove up to the top of this mountain and dropped me off on the front porch. And he went down the mountain and left me there. And I was super pregnant with you, Julianne. Like you weighed 11 pounds, 9.5 ounces. So even at 7.
And how big are you?
Right now I'm shrinking.
5'2"? So
Yeah.
I was a very large. So he left you there to do the dirty work because you're a pregnant woman and it would look more desperate?
Healing. Oh. So I knocked on these humongous doors that were like 10 feet tall, all hand carved from the Philippines. And I heard this little pitter patter, and the door opens, and on the other side is Dee Raskob. And she goes, "Yes." And I go, Hi, my name is Joyce, and we want to live in the country. And do you have any place that we might be able to rent from you? And she looked at me, and we sat down on the front porch together, and we started talking. And it was a solid hour of her just talking and visiting with me. And she goes, "Yes, I have a little house down on the flat on the ranch." So I said, "We'll take it." And she goes, "Well, it's kind of really run down." And I said, "That's fine. I'll work on it. Whatever it takes to get out into the country." So we went home. Your dad picked me up, or actually I walked down the mountain a little ways and met your dad. Then we went home.
I am really upset about this news,
She called me
the
the next day, and she said, "I would like for you to come back out to the ranch and bring your husband." So I did. And instead of going down to this little crummy farmhouse, we turned right onto this nice driveway. And she had just built her daughter a house, but the daughter didn't want to live there. And she took me into it and said, "What do you think of this house?" And I burst out in tears. And then she started crying. And then we hugged each other. And she goes, "You can live here, and it'll cost you $200 a month." And that was it. So that's how we ended up on the ranch.
Was that cheap at the time, or was that expensive?
No, that was real affordable. She could have gotten tons of money for it because it was, on 160 acres. 230 acres was what it was.
Really?
So,
and it was a ranch on the top of a hill, and I remember it was surrounded by, we had a little racetrack, a horse stable at the bottom, and it was very country.
Very fancy, actually. It had a swimming pool for racehorses, so they had a ramp that they could put the racehorses in. It had a 1/4-mile track for exercising. It had round pins and hot walkers and the whole thing. And she had bought that ranch for her daughter. And her daughter decided she didn't want to have anything to do with horses. And in the meantime, her husband passed away. So she was on this huge ranch with all this horse facility and nobody to help her with it.
So who was her husband? Because he was kind of a famous guy.
So backing up, her father-in-law was John Raskob. And their family was from Delaware, as were the DuPonts and the Astors. And they all lived together. They took up the whole state of Delaware, basically. And they were all the huge magnates that built all the U.S. Steel and all the big buildings. And the way that he got into it, family were Germans. He was a secretary. He went to work for DuPont as a secretary, but he was such a financier that he invested all of his money and DuPont's money in all these really solid investments and ended up making millions and millions of dollars. So that's how he got into the business, and he ended up building the Empire State Building himself. And he was one of the principals in U.S. Steel. That
is probably a hard job with one did he have a lot of nails and a belt? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. It's by himself.
But what he did, though, he built it. They said that he took a pencil and put it on its eraser end and then leaned back in his chair and decided how tall he wanted the building. And his architect was there, and he said, "Can you build me the tallest building in the United States? I want it this tall." And the architect went to work, and they did it. But it was right before the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. So after it was all done, nobody moved in. And so they called it the Empty State Building instead of the Empire State Building. Wow. And then, of course, he was turned around and he filled it up and became just humongously rich. And he ended up being the chairman of the Democratic National Convention. Wow. And he himself funded Alfred J. Smith, who was the guy who ran against Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, wow.
And Roosevelt won. Is that the right Roosevelt? Franklin Delano. I don't remember which Roosevelt it was. But anyway.
FDR.
Yeah. The whole point of this was he became very rich. His friends were the Astors and the DuPonts. So they all lived on the same highway in Delaware. They came from huge Catholic families. Robert, was one of 13 children. The DuPonts had 15 children. The Astors had 12. And they would all get together on Friday nights in a barracks, and they would have pillow fights. Mm-hmm. And the nannies and the butlers would wait for these kids, and there would be like 30, 35 kids with pillow fights, and they would fill the whole barracks with feathers. And then the kids would all separate and go their merry way. And this is a story from Dee. They would go, the maids and the nannies and the butlers would go and collect all the feathers and put them back in pillows for the next Friday night.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that the cutest?
How funny.
And so they wouldn't sew up the ends of the pillows very well. They would just make them to where when they started beating, all the feathers would fly. And that was one of the best memories that Robert Raskob had. His whole life with the pillow fights in the barracks. Isn't that cool? And then they moved to California. The Raskob family had silver mines in Nevada. That was one of their big investments. So Dolores D. was raised by a foreman on the railroad, the Southern Pacific Railroad. And her mom was a little French lady, first generation, barely spoke English.
And can I just say, Dolores always reminded me of kind of like Meryl Streep or something. She has that real angular face, kind of that thin nose.
I think she looks like Faye Dunaway.
Yes.
Brown hair.
Yeah, kind of like flatter features with a real aquiline nose.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Anyway,
she very pretty, very fit, and her dad. She was raised in a boxcar. The railroad would just pull their trains off a siding, and the foreman would hire all the Hispanics to work on the railroad, and Asians, Chinese, and they built the railroad systems. And Dee was just raised in a train car, and her mom was this little French lady, and she cooked in a little tiny what did they call them, hot plates. She only had hot plates to cook on, but still did French cuisine. So Dee was super fluent in both French and Spanish, because all of her friends were the kids of the workers who were laying the tracks. And so she was very, very humble, raised, very frugally, no money at all. And she went to work in a little Nevada town, and I think it was Tonopah, Nevada. And she was working in a hardware store, and she was on a ladder reaching screws or nails or whatever. And Robert Raskob came walking in. He had been at his silver mine, And he walked into this hardware store and he looked up and saw her and he goes, I want to get to know her. And she flounced down, and she was always very,
coiffed.
Secure, very, and coiffed. And they kind of hooked up, and she had no idea that she was marrying a billionaire.
Wow.
But they ended up getting married in the Royal Hawaiian Hotel in Oahu, the Pink Hotel, the old one. That's where her wedding was. And they came back to California. I remember setting the table with her many times at the ranch house. Her fancy, she had a butler's pantry, and she had a table that seated 20. And I'd be helping her put down her silverware. And it was all hand done from her own silver mine in Nevada. And it had their initials and the Raskob silver mine on the back. And it was like, whoa. And all of her hollowware was from her silver mine. And then when they moved to California, they wanted to get involved in charity, and they were very involved in Catholic charities anyway. So Robert went over to Holy Names College it must be Piedmont, maybe? It's in the Bay. And found little children were not being taken care of for disabled children from 3rd grade to 8th grade. So he built them their own school and funded everything. And that's how Dee was always involved in the Catholic charities through Holy Names College.
Yeah, they call it Holy Names University, and it's listed in Oakland.
Oakland. Okay, so right on the border there.
And she must have given millions of dollars to them, right?
You know, it was interesting. He did the whole building, and then they would do fundraisers. So I don't know how much he did out of pocket, but then he passed away, and Dee wanted to stay real involved in it. So she was always finding clothes to give to them, or doing fundraisers, or having black tie events. And on that note, black tie, one time we had to do this big fancy black tie in San Francisco, and I was engaged to Denny. I think I was engaged. And he was—
That's the cowboy.
Yes, he was looking so styling. He had his black hat and a tuxedo shirt and a morning coat on, and so cool. And we get to this black tie affair, and he has an occasion to lean back in his chair, and Dee reaches over and whacks the back of his chair to sit him forward again. And he kind of, whoa. And then as it proceeded, he put his elbows on the table, and she reached over and whacked his tables and gates. Get your elbows off the table. And so he's like, what the? And then they served the first part of the meal, and I think it was a salad. And he started to eat, and she reached over with her fork to get like a black olive or something off of his salad plate. And he took his fork, the back of his fork, and whacked her hand. He said, you have your own salad. And I'm going, oh my God. And this is all black tie. You're just going, ah. But she ended up loving the ground he walked on. She just thought he was the best thing ever. But how we made it through that meal, I'll never know.
And she sort of attached herself to you as almost like a daughter, and you kind of like, she was like almost like a mother figure, right? Because you were new and with a baby and little me running around. So.
Part of it, I think, she did not have good relationship with her 2 adopted daughters. They were real connected to her husband and not her. And I never heard the real story why they didn't have their own children, but they couldn't for whatever reason. And I came along right after he had died, and she didn't have relationships with her kids. And I think it was kind of the perfect match.
And why did they, because she lived in we were all pretty isolated up there. So why would she live there? Why did all of us?
Well, because she had that racehorse ranch that she had gotten for her daughter, and her husband helped facilitate that. And then she stayed there for, I don't know, 2-3 years, and then put it on the market. And that's when she moved into town. And that's when we all moved to Fountainhead, is when she sold the ranch.
Was that devastating to you, or were you happy to get out of the country?
Well, it was pretty, it was just you and your sister and me most days. And your dad would go to work and come home. We had one car. We had a moped. We didn't do much. We did hikes, and I took the two of you down to Niederholzer's corner, the old schoolhouse, and then we'd walk back. And so I was kind of glad to get to go to town.
So you were quarantining before it was cool.
I know. I didn't know any better. I loved it. I had chickens, and you guys, my other 2 chickens. And, yeah, Oscar the cow. And it was great. I think it was pretty good space to raise you guys in. It was healthy. We were outside all the time. And yeah.
Did we get visitors at all? His family would come, right? Dad's family?
Uh-huh. And I would make a lot of spaghetti because that was about all we could afford. And every now and then Mormon missionaries. And one time I was nursing you, and I had the world's biggest boobs, and they were always making extra milk. So I shoved like towels down my shirt and waiting for you to wake up because you were always hungry. And I opened the door, and there were these 2 missionaries, and I had all this towel stuffed down my shirt, and I had forgotten because I just walk around with it during the day, and they kind of go, but yeah, not a whole lot of visitors.
Oh, that's cute.
But we'd go down and visit our neighbors, and it was good. I liked it. I liked living there. I liked raising you guys there.
Yeah, it was really cute. How was it not having 2 cars though? You would jump, we had a moped, right?
We got that after we were there for quite a while, because if there was an emergency, I didn't have any way to get you guys to a doctor or to an urgent care center. And it got kind of freaky when you guys were real active. And so we got the moped, and your dad would take that to work and then come home. But we had so little money that I didn't spend any time bebopping around in the car because it was gas money. So I didn't use it all that much. I'd go to McCullough's and buy you guys some fabric and make your dresses. I know I sound like Little House on the Prairie, but it really was kind of that way.
These are my favorite memories, just being out, like climbing the hill, like little baby Carrie in the opening scene of Little House on the Prairie. We had these big grassy hills and picking wildflowers and going for big hikes.
That's it.
You sewing clothes.
We had huge live oak trees, and the limbs would come down real close to the ground, so you guys could climb onto the branches. You didn't have to go up a trunk to get to climbing territory.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just sat at your feet and would play all day and hike and climb and cook and just a little domestic life. Hey, Mom, the way you're sitting right now is so cute because the plates behind your head make it look like you have little Mickey Mouse ears on. Are you seeing that, Julianne?
Yeah, it's so cute.
Yeah, we could turn this into a drinking game. Every time Mom looks like Mickey Mouse, take a drink. All right, everybody. Sorry, derailing. Go ahead, funny. Mama. Yeah, and what were some other... I have a question.
I remember the Doobie Brothers coming over. Oh, sorry.
When Dee decided to put the house on the market, the Doobie Brothers came up because they needed a studio house. And it was super quiet out there. And I don't think they ever put an offer in on it, but they were going to use our house where I raised you guys as the studio, and then Dee's big mansion on the hill as their actual house. But they ended up selling it to another big racetrack firm, and they turned it into a killer horse place.
Wow.
I mean, they really upgraded everything.
Do you remember the Doobie Brothers? Because that's always fun. I thought he put me on his lap, the main Doob.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm sorry. But I remember Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Coming over?
No, calling on the phone all the time for you.
Oh. Did he really? That's so funny. Really? I don't remember that. Huh.
Are you sure it wasn't Tree? Tree was my buddy, and Flea was her buddy.
Oh. No, it was Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh. Wow.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Stories for another time.
So you guys asked me to put together a playlist, so I have. It's 2 pages long, and there is no stopping me. I like so many
A playlist
songs.
for your funeral?
Well, that too, but I was actually going to put it on my phone so I could have it for car play.
Sorry. Because we had a conversation about your eulogy and all that. Okay.
Actually, I was thinking about it being part of that celebration.
But what if it's just 2 hours, 2 pages of songs? So, and then we'll be listening to Gordon Lightfoot, everyone sits. And then we will be listening to Gladys Knight and the Pips just for 2 hours.
You better, please leave really specific instructions so we don't mess this up. Yeah, we need help. We could dress up like the Doobie Brothers. What if we got really into it? And I dressed up like Michael McDonald. I had the white hair and the eyebrows. Chest
At
hair.
her funeral?
Yeah, we could do a whole spectacle. We could do the 1970s playlist in costume.
You're usurping her mother.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mom.
Can we do it before I die so I can laugh at you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That would probably be a better...
Tuesdays with Mommy.
You're funny.
That was dumb. Sorry. Go ahead.
You know, keeping up with what's going on in the world can sometimes feel like it's more trouble than it's worth. The news can be scary and make you want to scream, or there's just simply too much out there to keep up with. But that's why there's the Assorted Goods podcast. It's the amateur's guide to world events, where each episode we take a closer look at a collection of stories that slip through the cracks of the regular news cycle. So find Assorted Goods on whatever podcast app you use, and join me in my attempts to learn a little more about the world, one story at a time.
I have such weird little flashy memories from that place, like sitting on the side of the house by the big air conditioning unit and a jumping spider jumping on my finger and biting me and being like, ah, and then losing my first tooth, riding my bike for the first time, and learning how to whistle on my 6th birthday. I remember sitting on a log or a rock or whatever it was, or no, I know what it was. It was that big propane tank or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
We had out front. I was sitting on that and I taught myself how to whistle out there.
That's cute.
And it was on my 6th birthday, so I was very proud of myself.
Julianne, do you remember your pictures of you in underneath an umbrella? You were dressed in your little raincoat and you were crying.
Yes, because I stepped in a puddle and I got wet.
It was so sad.
I was always crying. Why? All my pictures are of you guys laughing and me crying. Why is that? My dead frog, everyone in the background, all the adults laughing and me crying with my dead frog. Harry Larry, by the way.
Harry Larry came all the way from Lake Tahoe to Danville.
I can't even talk about it. It's another sad animal death story.
You were hearted.
Mother. Continue. I forget. Do you have any more stories on your list?
I have some photo memories. We like to flip through the photo book and have memories. I remember Dad bringing home a big laminated board from school where he worked as a PE teacher and running a hose down it and making it into a water slide.
Oh, yeah.
So we had two. We had the mud slide that actually went down into a ditch he dug and filled with water. So it was real mud. But then he made the other one that went into a big baby pool of some sort. And I just remember being traumatized and like staring at the picture of Julianne because we realized the best way to slide down this water slide was bare skin. But you had a little t-shirt on, Julianne, and Dad took a picture from behind. So it's just you sitting there on the top of the slide in a t-shirt with your bare butt. And the way it was like squished and it made like little baby cellulite. I remember just staring at that picture. Like,
you've always been like that.
Staring at the butt picture. Fascinated. And what were those dimples? So many of them.
You have always been like that. You're obsessed with people and like weird like pock marks on their legs or dimples on their butts or like weird veins in their fingers. Always. What's wrong with it?
I don't know.
It's a physiology.
Maybe. Yeah, I can totally remember everybody's hands. I remember Grandma and Grandpa's hands, Grandma Carter or Grandpa, all the grandparents. I just remember their hands, like staring at, the veins. And
you probably stared like this. This is what I remember my whole childhood, staring and then this face.
Her nose is kind of squinched up.
My whole childhood growing up.
Her mouth was turned down, like a disgusted looking down her nose face.
A stink face. Like a horrified stink face. My whole childhood.
Anyway, I have one last story.
Okay, do tell.
We had chickens. Do you remember those chickens?
Let's talk about the chickens. This just came out the other day, and Julianne didn't believe me. Yeah, talk about the chickens.
Okay, so we had chickens, and we had a dog run, and that's where we kept the chickens. And anytime I got a chance, I'd go lay down on the chaise lounge outside, and you guys would, diddle around and play in the dirt and collect bugs and whatever. And one time I had my toenails painted red, and they came up. We had strawberries, and they got the strawberry plants mixed up with my toes, and they started pecking on my toenails. And you, Joelle, started crying. You thought that they were going to eat my toes, and I didn't want to scare the chickens, so I just kind of like moved my feet a little bit, and I wanted to run and hug you, but you were devastated.
I have had a fear of things nibbling my hands and toes. And I think it was because Shelby, that lived down the hill from us, told me a story, and we were just 4 or 5. And somebody like ate salami and then fell asleep with their hand off the bed, and a rat came and ate their fingers off.
Oh, God.
So I could never sleep with my fingers or toes off the bed. And so maybe there was a connection there with the chickens. I was like, this is it.
Sure.
She stuck her toes in salami, and now it's over. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
You also passed down that story to me, thank you. So I still can't sleep with my hands or toes.
I'm sorry.
It's one of those early fears that you can't get rid of.
Is it true that we had 2 roosters and we had to kill a rooster, and it was Jim and Dad running around with a dull axe?
Yes.
Okay.
That is true.
But they probably thought it was funny because they were... Well, why would you do that?
Because roosters were pecking on each other all the time, trying to establish dominance. And
did we eat it, though?
No.
Yes, we did. They gave you one of the dead ones, and you plucked the feathers and had to stick it in a pot of boiling water, I thought. And it was tough. You put it in the oven. And I remember everyone saying it was tough.
I doubt if I picked any feathers off of it. It might have been delivered to the kitchen and said, why don't we try cooking this? And I had no idea what to do with it. I would imagine that's probably how it went down.
Really? All right.
You don't have that memory?
I don't remember ever picking feathers off of anything.
Really? Okay. Maybe I confused it with Little House on the Prairie.
The usual.
I'm really Laura.
Oscar the cow. Do you remember going down to see him all the time?
Yes.
Julianne, do you remember that?
I want to forget because didn't we eat him? Yeah.
Well, we never heard the real story that went with it, but then one day there were packages of beef on the front porch.
And Oscar disappeared that same day?
Yes.
Huh.
Oscar was gone. So somebody just walked in the
Oscar.
door.
Oh, is that the cowboy? Oh,
Make him
let's see
stick
his
his head in.
mustache. Make him stick his mustache in the frame.
He said, that's the stuff you're going to have to edit. And he's walking out the front door.
Bring him in here. Tell him.
Grab him by
please.
his mustache and drag him over.
Put that lasso around him.
They want to see you.
Will you just poke your little head in the corner?
He's wandering this way.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
This will be the best sighting ever. Get
Yeah.
down, Sam.
Yeah, bend down. We got to see your face.
Oh, no.
No.
Cowboy D.
I
Cowboy
want to see your torso.
here.
That's not exciting.
Squat.
There's the yellow shirt. That's me.
Squat down.
Why
Squat
are you
down.
doing the yellow shirt?
My
Come
knee
on.
shirt.
Danny, keep going.
No.
Danny, come on.
There he is. Hi.
I got yeah. Guys.
That's really him. He didn't flip us off or anything.
No.
Oh,
Oh.
that's cute. He was standing there. What did he come in from work or was he coming in from the barn?
He said he's COVID-19 nice right now. He came down the driveway when you and I were talking, and then he went out to the barn and put the horses. I don't know what he did with the horses, but it's really pretty spring day today.
Oh,
and
nice.
all my flowers are starting to poke their heads up, and a few of them have bloomed, and so
Oh,
yeah.
it's a nice life in Idaho.
Mom, you did a great job raising me. Thank you so much. I don't know about this one down here.
What about me?
I'm kidding.
That's terrible to say.
Thank you for
Mom,
putting in all the
was I
country
a better
time.
child than Joelle? Oh, good. I like that she paused. Let's talk about me for a little bit. Mom, who was the easier baby?
You didn't sleep.
Still. Was I more fun though?
You went. But then so
More fun? Was I a better hugger?
you did love to cuddle.
More than this one?
I don't. Yeah, sure.
What did I do better than her? Anything?
Why are you pointing down? I'm up. Just kidding.
You're different everywhere.
I know.
I'm gonna say that you were an entertainer. You were an entertainer, even as a baby.
Like a dork? Would you laugh
would
at
sit
me or
there.
with me?
Well, you knew that you could get a reaction by doing cute little things, even in your high chair. You would like that.
So sort of like a trained seal. Nothing's changed much.
And
Just not getting paid for it.
so you were always good at that. Really at throwing a ball. Pretty good.
These are all good skills that don't really go very far in life. That's good. Good to know.
Baby.
Sister, do you want to know anything about yourself? You were great, apparently.
I was
Great.
great. I saved your life one time when you fell in the bathtub
That's true.
Thank
at
you.
the
Tell the
ranch.
story, Joelle.
You toddled in and you wanted to see what I was doing, and you toddled right over the edge of the bathtub, head first. And I had to hold you up like Atlas held up the world. And I screamed, "Mama!" And you were heavy. And you were crying and wet. And I was just, my little mousy arms hanging on to this.
Aw.
And I thought if I dropped you, you would die, certainly. So
We should reenact that photo for the website now.
Oh my God. That means I would have to be naked. And
So would I, dripping and wet above your head.
You weren't
Sounds
naked though. You were
good.
clothed. You came toddling in your clothes. And Mom came running around the corner, and it probably wasn't a big life-saving act, but boy, you made me feel like I saved her life. Like I was
You did.
a first responder. You made such a big to-do, and I was so proud of myself.
You did save her life, and we're going to stick with that story.
So Weens,
I like it.
you owe me one.
Got that, Julianne?
Yeah. No, I've been hearing that from about that age on. A lot of years of that story. Thank you. Again, now I can finally perform my high chair acts for the rest of my life. I'm so glad I was saved. Thank you. Working well. Thanks, guys.
The high chair act, for those of you that only have audio, is her blinking and banging her head in a odd way while sticking her tongue in and out. That was the move of a high school.
Tongue in and out.
High chaired Weens. Kind of like a little frantic frog licking at a fly.
All right.
While blinking.
When were you the most angry at my sister? Did you ever scream at her? I really came out like looking like a bad kid here. I want to find some of your flaws.
Wonderful, Julianne. You provided tons of fun in our life, and still are.
Her mouth is open and she's looking up at the ceiling. She's so proud of herself.
No, but really, was she ever a little stinker, that one?
She pulled some fast ones.
I knew it.
Not very often.
A little shady, right?
Yeah, no. You guys are both really easy to be with. The one time in Fountainhead, you decided you were not going to tell me the truth. And
Me?
I'm going to guess you were about 5 years old. And I remember the wallpaper on your wall.
Me?
And no, Julianne.
This is me? Oh.
And so
I was so excited we found something.
I told you, I did the, mean mama and the rotten stare and all that. But honestly, Julianne, I don't think you ever told me a fib after that. You might have pulled some shenanigans, but you never used words to tell me a fib. So it worked.
What did you do to me?
She probably did this. Julianne, Elizabeth, with her eyeballs going
With
left,
the
right,
eyes.
left, right. Oh,
What did I do
it
to
was
the
so
wallpaper?
scary. It was like the boa constrictor, and that was just a marker of what room you were in. She just remembers the wallpaper. That's why she's saying it was at Fountainhead, because she remembers the wallpaper of the room.
Well, I thought I lied about wallpaper. I do love this purple paisley. I do. That I secretly did not. I don't know what's happening.
What about
I need to
Mom? You always
socialize.
told this. You always told the story that I was in the little cubby hole under the stairs, the little cutout luggage space or whatever, swearing at all my dolls. I had tested out all my swear words. Was that me? There, I'll give you
Okay,
one.
that
Weens.
was at the ranch. That was at the ranch.
Oh.
And you were with Allie in that little closet. It was in the hallway. And I had taken all the luggage out and turned it into a dollhouse. And so you two would crawl in there. And I heard you saying, both of you were doing, God damn. And I, what? And I went and threw open the doors. And you both looked like you were testing it, like you had never ever said those words before, but you had heard them, so you were trying it out, and you both got in trouble. And that was,
I always got in trouble with Allie. The two of us together.
Always.
Yeah. She would push me and I would push
Is
her.
that the time that I put soap on your tongue?
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
you deserve that.
Allie wasn't there. She was not there. But so I took you in and I made you stand up on the step at your sink. And I said, you can't talk like that. You were just being sassy, I think. And I had read in Dr. Spock or something, try this soap on the tongue. And I thought, well, that's really, okay, we'll try it. So you being such a good little kid, you just stood there with your arms next to your side. And I said, okay, stick your tongue out. And so you stuck your tongue out. And I rubbed some soap on it. And then you go, hello.
So what do I do now? She's saying with her tongue out. Oh.
So I just poured some water over your tongue. And I said, well, that was really dumb, Joelle. Sorry. It was so stupid. But that, you had done something to where.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, she really did.
That make you feel good, Julianne?
Real good. Thank you. I'll keep them coming.
Oh, Mom, you're such a good mom. We had
you're a good mom.
Yeah, we had like one big spanking to teach us the one big lesson, and that was it. We were pretty okay.
I didn't
worked out.
Thinking.
No, yeah. But there was never a lot. It was always like one big moment, and it was very talked about. Like, okay, now I am going to spank you because I said that if you do this, there will be a spanking. And it was only like one or two in our whole life.
Hey, Mom, did I light the carpet on fire?
You and Johnny Morjic did.
That was Allie's, brother. But it wasn't me, right?
May Way.
It wasn't me.
I wasn't there, so I just heard the story. But I do know that you pooped in the hot tub.
Oh, right, that's enough. Now,
and on that note,
okay, now it's been lovely having you. Thanks for showing up. Let's go.
The next episode, we're going to talk about Weens getting back in the dating pool.
Okay, no! Don't put me in a pool. I'm like a turtle. I'll just poop. It felt good. All right, now let's say thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mom. Love you. You're the best.
You, I wouldn't have any other daughters but you two. Really? I just want you to know that. And you're special, Julie.
Tweedle dork and Tweedle D. That was a
good one. Did you hear Mom call you special? You're special.
Oh, no.
You are?
You're very special.
Yeah.
Do that high chair move again, and then we'll decide. Oh, we love you. I love you.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
We love you, Mom.
Bye, Mom.
Thanks for everything.
I don't know how to hang up, so you have to do it.
Push your leave meeting button.
It's okay.
Leave?
Don't worry about it, Mom. It's okay. This is like a Saturday Night Live skit. Yeah, thank you for listening to Mouse and Weens, everybody. You can find us at www.mouseandweens.com. Thank you for the listeners writing in, and I'm losing my train of thought. At Mouse and Weens everywhere. I'm distracted. Mom's really leaning into this. She really wants to hear about
She's really leaning
her links. Wow.
She doesn't know how to get off of this. So I think don't hang up. Let's just keep this uncomfortable.
The leave meeting button. So I was waiting for my turn.
Were you going to push out?
I was.
All right.
Then she started talking.
I'm sorry. I have to close it out appropriately. So Mouse and Weens, thank you, everybody. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you, Mom. Love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's see if she could do it.
Red button.
Are you going to do it?
And there she goes. She zoomed back into the ether of Idaho. Hi, Mom.
Well, the blinds are finally open, face the outside world again. The frame that held your picture somehow smashed in the heartache. In the pot I had to piss in, rust to catch in the rain. And diamonds don't shine